We are talking quality control today, and this is Can We Chat?
This podcast has been made possible by our sponsors, CA-IDPAshooters, responsible training for the competitive-minded, and Fast Path Firearms Training, because safety is no accident.
What's going on? My name is Paul G., Chief Safety Officer for the IDPA. This channel will help you clarify IDPA rules, shooting techniques, and inform you of the newest gear and what's going on in the shooting community. If you are new here, consider subscribing. Please welcome back to the podcast the highly respected Mr. IDPA, Derek Zavada. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Yeah, I definitely probably, I know that with Zavada being last in the alphabet, you probably called everybody else, Ra and all those guys, and they just were like, no one picked up. Right. So I was like, oh, hey, Paul's calling.
You got to change your name then to Alva or something. Right?
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
So you recently had a question. You called me and or texted me, and you were talking about numbers. Stats.
Yeah.
I'm like, where are you getting this stuff from?
Yeah, so, as we've talked in the previous podcast, one of the things we're trying to work on is, this is always in helping people improve not only their shooting skills, but I was realizing we need to maybe help some match directors.
So we're taking this to the club now.
Take this to the club.
So,
I spoke to Ryan Harris up in Sacramento.
Wow. Okay. So this is getting big.
Yeah. So, and then, cause to get his feedback as well, I obviously talked the message to you cause you basically run the Prado as far as I'm concerned.
You stopped me in my tracks, and I sat there and went, I didn't know that this was possible. I didn't know that the numbers actually existed. So where actually are you finding the numbers?
Yeah, so basically I'll tell you the quick story here. So I reached out to Paul and Ryan, and one of the things that I had been thinking about for a while and then thought about was your club retention, which is how many people come and shoot one time in a year's time, as an example. So if you have an entire match, and some matches are 24, some are 12, based on weather, rain, and so forth, right? But out of that year, so we have all the data for Prado and a few other clubs for 2023, obviously. Out of that, how many people shot the match that are unique? How many people shot one time and didn't come back?
So who would actually utilize these numbers?
So I believe that this is really good for the match directors and IDPA, right? So this will allow you as a match director, and what I'm coming up with is a very simple program, kind of like Practice Score, that allows you to take the Practice Score data, put it into this program, and it's going to give you this information. And then it'll allow you to, write an email maybe to the people that shot only one time and get some feedback that you may not normally get, just to see if someone just was in town visiting and their cousin and came out that one time, or was there something that they didn't like or something that they liked? So we could figure those things out, both as on a club level, but also as an IDPA level as well, to see what can we do nationwide. Because I have a feeling the same people that shoot one time do it a lot at other clubs, but why? What can we do to help that?
So you're fine-tuning what goes on, like stages. And...
Exactly. Yeah. So some of the data you can gather from Practice Score, which is I started running all these crazy numbers after talking to you, was when you run just a monthly match, for instance.
Yes.
What was the hardest stage? What stage had the highest time and the highest penalties? Okay. So then you can look at your paperwork and go, why was this? What happened? Now, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because you may be like, oh, this was the most challenging stage for everybody based on both time, penalties, and things like that.
So when you get this information, you find out that there's a stage that's incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
Do you just add more incredibly challenging stages, or just you do like a variety of stages? How would a match director interpret those numbers?
So I think it allows a match director to determine that themselves based on their shooters, right? So sometimes you want to make a match more challenging, and it allows you to see, you can analyze that yourself and say, there's a lot of long distance shots, for instance, or there was a lot of hard cover.
Right.
So I think that will allow a lot of people to break down that, to if they want to make it more challenging or less challenging. And I for me, I look at those stages and I say, when you start running tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, find those stages, and those are the ones you want to use because they're obviously whatever that formula was, it seemed to make it challenging.
Right.
Sometimes at a club level match, as you know, and as some people probably know, it's now summertime here. It's hot. It's like Africa hot. So, do you really want to push a lot of challenging stages? Probably not, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Probably, now for us, our winter is pretty good. Like we get a lot of matches in and our winters are pretty mild.
It's comfortable. So
It's comfortable. So
take the time to read.
yeah,
the
take the
stages.
time.
Yeah.
In the summertime, people,
No.
yeah, we'll get
Tensions are
short.
high.
Tensions are high. People, and which I don't blame people, but you got to remember, hydrate.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Everyone brings water. By the way, this is one of the things I want to bring up in the summertime.
Yeah.
So if you forgot water or something,
Yeah.
ask your neighbor. Everyone's very generous on the range. Ask them, right?
Well, hydration starts like 48 hours before.
Before
right?
you,
So-
before you get out, start drinking,
if
right?
you're thirsty out in the range, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah,
so-
if you start feeling the effects, it's
Yeah.
too late. That's what we say, right? So I think it's one of the important things that that's also part of what I call shooting, right? There's
Yes.
more than just pulling the trigger. It's having
Yes,
your gear
yes.
prepped
Right,
when you
right,
load
right,
your
right,
mags.
right,
And
right.
but like I always say, try not to be too proud. Ask
Right.
for help.
Right.
People will have water or whatever. They'll bring that for
Right,
you.
right,
But yeah, going back to numbers, one of the things that was great, kind of at the end of the year, you can do a full report, which tells you kind of who improved the most. It'll look at all of the match scores and give you a trending line on who improved. So you can basically use that information to reward the shooters that come out to visit, right? So you can come in and say, hey, by the way, Paul, you were the most improved in bug, over the year because you're consistently ranked higher.
Right.
And your scores ranked lower every month, and I think it helps a lot of shooters, especially new shooters,
Right.
see that there's progress because they're not tracking it.
Right.
So now we're going to help the shooters, and at the end of the year, be able to give them some feedback that
Right.
says, and send out a nice email saying, hey, by the way, we want to congratulate all these people, and this is what happened this year at our club. I think it gives people just a little more sense of feedback, which I think new shooters really appreciate.
So the mentoring program that we're doing, that's what it's based around.
Right,
But
exactly. Yeah,
I
that's what
didn't-
made me start thinking about it.
But I
Yeah.
didn't have like hard numbers to. I only showed them on videos, right? So
Yeah.
this is where you are. This is what I need you to do, and this is stuff you need to watch out for.
Right.
But I didn't have like actual written hardcore numbers.
And now as a mentor, you'll have that. You'll be able to run that every month,
Wow.
and then be able to say, "Hey, show your mentor
Right.
or mentoree that, like, hey, you're improving.
Right.
You did this, you did this. You started off by being 160 points down, and now you're only at 30 points down per
Right,
match. So people will start realizing, like, oh yeah, I didn't really realize those things. So I think that's another reason why I want to have these numbers, so the mentors can help show shooters that they are improving, or if they're struggling, like their times are going down, but their penalties are going up, their points are going up, then you can say, hey, this is where you're starting to make mistakes. You're you're going maybe too fast, and now you're getting too many points down.
Okay.
So I think it gives a lot of feedback to, like I said, to new shooters, but to the people that are coaching them as well.
Right.
'Cause-
So the match directors, how do they tap into all of this data?
So right now with Practice Score, the way that I have it set up right now with Practice Score is Practice Score allows you to generate just a generic total, they call it the combination HTML page.
Right.
So if you just take that HTML page right now and you just save it, you can just upload, like right now I'm going to make a web page where people can just upload those pages. It's going to break it down, analyze it for you, and it'll give you all these numbers by month, by combined, whatever you want to do. It's going to generate that. That's going to be kind of my first step to help people, so they can just take that information, upload it. Now, I've written a couple of just Excel VB scripts, basically, where right now you can also do the same thing where you can, retention was where all this started. So I wrote a thing in Excel where you can just point it to a directory with all those files in it.
Right.
It analyzes that, and it comes back and says, hey, this is how many people shot 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times.
So you can custom design this to get whatever information that you want.
Correct. Yeah. So the goal is to come up with kind of like a set format, and then get feedback from
Right.
both mentors and match directors
Yeah.
to see what we can tweak and add to that information, or what's not important.
So
maybe
as
stuff is-
a coach or a match director, what information should you be looking for?
Well, I think as a match director, for me as a match director, I always want to know. I want to look at retention just off the bat. So I want to look at retention, and I also want to look at what stages were the most difficult, both time wise and point wise, right? And I think when you shoot, and we can use Prado as a good example because we shoot out there so much, is because we have 7 bays, we try to balance them as much as we can time wise, right? So if you start realizing consistently, if you do something that ends up being twice as long to shoot, you end up with a bottleneck, right? Where a squad ends up waiting,
right.
And you don't really realize, and maybe just because there's 3 poppers and 2 swingers on that stage, and you realize every time I do 2 poppers and 3 swingers, it doubles the time, which now leads to a squad being backed up, which in summertime leads to frustration and things like that, right? So that's where I think that they would help a match director, right? So that way they could start realizing like, hey, I need to put it here, in the stage, right? So sometimes like at Prado, we will do the last stage will be more complex because it's a long walk, right? So we know that's that time, like we're trying to account for that time for people to walk all the way to bay 1, versus people are going from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. So we know that one, we can time that out to either be a faster stage. We make that a faster stage, not a slower stage. We make that a faster one because we know that people now have to walk up. And we calculate for that time. So that way when they get to 1, those people are leaving 1 and moving to 2 is usually, match flow is a very important thing, I feel, and it can help match directors get insight into that basically.
Or definitely stage designing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So does it also take a look at like quality control as far as customer satisfaction type of stuff?
So it can't really do that right now. And I think one of the things but what it will allow you to do is just to be able to get insight in, for instance, if you had 300, so Prado had 368-ish unique shooters.
Okay.
Out of that, there's about 100 that shot once.
So define unique. New
Unique
shooters
means
or...
that you shot 14 times in 2023.
I would definitely not consider myself unique.
Well, you shot 14 times, but it only counts you once, right? We said that you shot, so that's a unique shooter, being that we filter through and we say just people that has shot the match, basically. It doesn't matter how many times you shot the match. So, right? And then out of that, we had roughly 100 people-ish that shot it only one time that entire year. So we know that there's roughly actually the retention.
Right. So the uniqueness is, I've been there 14 times, and that's not common, right?
Right. Yeah. So we want to figure out, like, out of that, how many people shot that year. So it's basically, right. So we know that there's 368-ish, I believe is the number.
Right.
And then out of that, like I said, it's roughly 100 people shot it one time. Right. So I think it's one of those things to look at and say, okay, why was that? What happened?
Right. And so they would do their own research.
Yeah. And then a match director could just compile a nice short email, right? And
a card.
Yeah, email card.
Gift card.
Yeah, pitching, whatever you got in your town. Some people, I've shot some matches in, some places where I don't know if mail goes or people have email or, and I think it would be good to have that feedback, right? I know as a match director, I would appreciate it. And I know that I would like to send an email. Now, you may not get a response, but if you do, it could be, I shot it once because my brother lives in California. We were visiting for Thanksgiving, and I said, I'll come out and shoot. Right. Now, they shoot all the time, but they shoot in Missouri. But they just happen to be visiting, right? Yeah. So, but that'll tell you, like, that's an anomaly. That's and then, of course, the other thing that allows you to do is allows you over time. So Prado, we have I think almost 4 years worth of data for Prado.
Right.
So one of the other things I did was run a calculation, say what months had the most shooters, what months had the lowest amount of shooters, and actually they were pretty consistent.
Yeah.
So the next step is what happened in the low months and what happened in the high months, because they were very consistent every year. So is it Christmas, Thanksgiving? Was it summertime? Was it hot?
Holidays.
Was it the holidays? So that's the other thing to look at, because as you're trying to get help as a match director, I know that this is going to be a low month. So how do I want to stage and how do I want to get help for that match? Now, part of it, I know with Prado, part of it is some of the low months I know we have a lot of big matches.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of the SOs that are competitive, so they tend to also travel.
Yes, matches out of state.
Out of state,
Yes,
or
right.
or I mean, we have a big match here in state,
right?
But you will travel to Sacramento,
like Washington State's coming up next
Washington's
week.
coming up, yep.
And I had to ask Lee for time off.
Right, yeah. From your highly paid job, getting up at 5 a.m. to.
I almost didn't get it right.
You didn't approve it. You sent the email to HR. You did the approval.
They said no, and I had to appeal it, man.
Yeah, exactly. Here's my $100 appeal to take time off. Yeah.
Well, this is fascinating. You were talking about a Python script. What exactly is a Python script?
Yeah. So for a lot of people, my day job is actually I'm a technology person.
Good
so
God.
Yeah, I know. So on top of being a competitive shooter, I'm a computer person.
I always get excited when you call, right? I'm like, okay, let's talk guns, and we don't talk guns.
Yeah, we never talk guns. I know.
You come up with this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, Derek.
Yeah. So one of the things I do is a lot of coding, and Python is a coding language.
Okay.
So basically, I wrote this all in Python because it's fast to write stuff in and allows you. It's really good at data analytics. Like that's what they use.
Because
it for.
there's an awful lot of data on practice score. And
There is, and it's taking it so we can use it more for
that is interesting.
things that I think will help both not only match directors but mentors, like I said, which I think will really help people.
I know that I would utilize a lot of these metrics.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and I know I'll use them too at all of our other clubs. So now it's just getting feedback. Like I said, I talked to Ryan. He was overexcited, so I'm going to give him some of the information. And obviously, I give it to you. We're going to start showing you how to use it and get some feedback and see how we can use it to improve. And because I want to help the community, and I think this helps the community, both the mentors and the match directors, in an area where it's one of my other strong points. So why not contribute back? I'm a big fan of make this thing, contributes, right? The whole point of this podcast, in my opinion, is to help us grow our sport.
That's right. I mean,
so
if we don't have a
anything
voice,
we can do,
we're just talking to ourselves.
That's right. That's right. With more watts than listeners.
Oh my goodness. So the other parts of quality control is actually the club's website, social media, which is could be a double-edged sword at times.
Yes, that can be a plus and a minus.
Yeah. So customer churn, which you talk about, retention and so forth. We also know that trying to get to know your customer, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
But shooters, I mean, they're so diverse, right? I mean, you have all kinds of personalities out there, right? Which is quite difficult at times.
Yeah, I think anybody that works in any company learns that about anything, including sports, is that it definitely comes with a variety of personalities, right? That we have to learn how to manage.
Herding cats.
Yes, yeah, you're herding cats at times. And I think one of the things I learned a long time ago, and I will admit, when I started, I was a wound tight rubber band.
No, stop.
Yeah, it was crazy. It wasn't pretty. I might have had a few tantrums on the range. But what I had learned, and what I had some good mentors later in life that really helped teach me. It is a sport, but you're there for fun, right? And kind of the better you get, the more you really have to be that mentor of teaching, because people are watching you.
Yeah, the bottom line.
So the higher up you go, kind of the more people watch just your behaviors and your mannerisms. And I think it's very important to remember, one, it's also tier ones are entertainment. I could take that $40 and go watch a movie.
Right.
Well, it probably costs more to see a movie, but
it would.
Yeah.
It's $150 a month now.
Yeah.
You stream it at home.
Exactly. But it's entertainment, and you really want to figure out how to entertain your customers so they come back, right? I mean, it's really, in the end, some people it's a business, and some people it's not. I mean, for us, it's a labor of love, which is funny.
Oh,
We definitely are not getting rich
Birthing
running
pains,
matches.
Yeah. That's a labor of love, all right.
It costs me a lot of money every match I run, which I have yet to understand why I still do it. But it costs me a lot of money. But I love that labor of love. I love, I got so much out of the sport in 30 years that I really love giving back to the new people and to the clubs in general, just to people. So whatever I can do, I think it's like, so always try to remember that cool heads should always prevail. I don't think anyone intentionally ever means to be short or upset. I think sometimes when it gets hot and things are going on and people are, especially if you're a match director or you're a mentor, sometimes you're juggling a lot of things at one time. You're an SO.
You are.
You're juggling, and you sometimes end up responding shortly. And I think, I call it the Slack effect, right? It's like, everyone loves Slack at work, but you end up writing these and people are like, oh, is he mad at me? And you're like, no, I'm just not going to write an 8-paragraph Slack message, back to you, right? I'm going to keep it really short and brief.
Right.
And I think when you're on the range, especially when you're SOing and your stuff, and here's the other here's a trick that people don't know. SOs with 20 years of experience are going to make mistakes.
No, stop.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
No.
It's hard to believe. I know. There's going to be a bad call. That person was not out to get you. That person made a mistake.
I beg to differ.
Well, I know. There's a few of them.
Kurt's just that's
That's right. There's a few people. I mean, obviously the squads we shoot in, they're out to get us. But when you're a new shooter, the leeway they give you is huge. The leeway we get is microscopic.
Oh man.
So I think it's one of those things that just remember, try to give everybody a little bit of, if you feel yourself getting mad, upset, whatever, stop and count to 10. Is what I say.
I mean, where do you think this comes from? I mean, it's just more of the passion for the sport.
Well, I think that's what it is. I think especially anytime people get better too at certain sports or something like that, you become, you become John McEnroe, right? It just it
doesn't come cheap. No, definitely.
Exactly. Which is funny because I kind of subscribe a little bit to the, winning is good. Like it's fun. It's fun to win. It's not necessarily that important to me, but I can't stress to you how much I hate losing. It really irritates me
at all costs.
So it's a weird double-edged sword of like winning wasn't that important, but losing was really annoying. And when you lose because you discover somebody had made a bad call or somebody squad got to do something that no one liked, whatever that means, right? It means something to people, but you just, the goal is to try and have at tier ones, I always say they're practice for me. I'm not really worried where I rank because I'm like, I'm practicing, and I'm trying different things because that's where I want to try it. I'm not going to try it. I'm not going up to Sacramento for tier 4 Washington, and trying something experimental. I'm going to stick to what I know now works. And that's what I kind of always encourage people to do, is like, just when you're a tier 1, it's really fun. Like just try to engage with that and try not to, just try to remember that people are human and they make mistakes, they get upset. But it's in the end, it's really, really not personal. And everybody's got a different personality. I mean, I've definitely worked with people that, for whatever magical reason, we don't get along. Why? I don't know. Now, and I think sports are the same way.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. In general, I don't like people, so it doesn't upset me when.
Yeah. I'm not. It's not just I'm not discriminatory. It's not just one person. It's everybody.
It's everybody. I hate everybody. I hate everybody. So I'm not upset about.
Well, that makes it easier.
So I when someone says that they don't like me, I'm like, okay, good. I don't like you either.
So the last thing of quality control is defining a goal, right? So we all have to have goals, right? So which we go out. Obviously, having a well-run match is our goal, but trying to, like you said, having entertainment along the way is definitely part of that, right? So
I mean, I think that's really is the goal, right? Is how can we use this information and make a better product, let's say a better show for everyone to go and be entertained. In the end, it's it's kind of funny, the match fees Well, if you live in California, the match fees are like nothing because you're going to go spend $40 in ammo just shooting that match now, especially for the people that don't live here. We get to pay the extra 11% now on bullets for,
All right. That's a different podcast.
I know Paul's like, oh, I'm avoiding that.
Here we go.
Slowly.
Come on back. Come on back, Derek.
But so it's one of those things where you want to make it fun, you want to make it entertaining, you want to make it. And what can we do to balance it out? And the trick is, right, you still want to make it challenging. You still want to, because we have two levels. We have people that are competitors, and you want to push them so when they do go shoot a tier 4 or nationals, that it's not a shock to their system, right?
Yes.
And so I think it's just, but I'm hoping that this data will give local match club directors that balance, that information, and then they can see if there's anything they can do to improve.
So is this a huge program that you have to download, you have to purchase, subscribe to?
No, right now
what is this?
Right now it's going to be free. You'll have to subscribe just so we're going to give you a log into it, but there'll be just a web page you can go to and then upload the data, and I'll have some instructions, and then you can just upload it there for now.
Right.
But it's going to be free to mentors and match directors. So so the power of AWS, man. Amazon, you can buy more than just Twinkies.
Well, it was Prime Day, so
Prime Day. I know
my wife really took advantage of all that stuff.
Yeah, believe me. Yeah, we call our UPS guy Santa, and he comes all year round,
right?
Because he's there like every day. Right. There's always something. I'm like, what do we buy now? Yeah.
So where is this going to take IDPA? Do you think?
Well, what I hope it takes IDPA is I hope it gives us a little more insight to help grow the sport, right? Retain more people, keep them in the sport.
At least we know what to do to help.
What we can do to what can we do to help those people? Retain those people, and I'm hoping that will then reflect how we can then bring more people in. Yeah, is really the goal, I think, with that. So, and that's going to be our thing for next year for the new shooter stuff. Once we start engaging that for next year, and this is all part of that plan to help everybody track that information and be able to see, like, did that help? Did we retain more people and things like that?
I think it gives a strong indication how to keep the clients that you have. Right?
Yes.
So, I mean, if you have happy core clients, right? They're going to refer people anyways.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think in certain areas, California, Southern California, which is ironic for us, we have a bunch of clubs. Like, you can go every weekend and shoot IDPA somewhere. You can shoot USPSA and IDPA twice every weekend somewhere here, and so inside of an hour and a half drive.
If you have ammo, right?
If you have ammo, if you can keep uploading and cleaning the gun, you can keep going. Right. Which is good and bad, because obviously if you scare off people, they have other places to go. You don't want your club to struggle,
right.
But there are a lot of places where there's only one club within inside of an hour and a half drive of people.
Right.
So those are the clubs that I really want them to have this data to be like, okay, what is it? Is it because you may find out it's the time of day you start and stuff like that. I know that I know that Americana 1800 in the summertime we start earlier because it gets hotter.
Oh yeah.
And the light's already up, so it's like, okay, we bump everything up an hour. So we send out a big email saying, hey, remind you guys we're bumping it up an hour. That way everyone's done no later than 1, because that's when it really starts getting hot,
which can be dangerous.
Well, as we know, it can be dangerous, because I've been on the range several times with people that have gotten heat stroke, and it's that's not good. It's not good. It's one of those things that's really hard for people to when you get real heat stroke, it's dangerous, and 2, it takes you a while to recover from. So we don't want any kind of injury, right? I mean, we really don't want any kind of injury.
So you definitely can use this tool for safety reasons as well.
And I think that's one of the things that's going to help give a little more insight to match directors.
That's fantastic.
So that's the goal with it for now.
So what about on the flip side? What about like problematic patient or clients, or like toxic clients?
Yeah,
does it point out any of that kind of
stuff? Well, unfortunately, it can't do that yet. I think that that's one of the things that both as a match director, I keep track of. Unfortunately, there's always going to be, you can't make everybody happy.
Yeah.
And we have everything from people that will show up 5 minutes after the match has started.
Okay.
And they don't realize how much an impact on the stage it has, because now it's like, okay, it's like we do, we typically sign everybody at 30 minutes ahead of time. try to give people time to get to the bays, do their walkthroughs,
Right.
get set up, start shooting.
Right.
And then at that time, we've removed people from practice score because they're like, well, you didn't show up. It's 15 minutes
huge
still.
Process.
It's a
right?
huge process to remove that. And then they show up, and now you're trying to add them. You're trying to go through these things. So it'll, one of the things is hopefully we can get some insight into that is what is my next goal. Just so match directors can know, like, this person,
So that'll actually point out those types of people as well.
Right. That's the goal, is to point out those people. So that way, as a match
director,
director,
that'd be categorized under unique,
special categories of I've discovered with some people they're just not good at using calendars or remembering. Like, even though we run the matches on the same day at the same time consistently every month, the only time that there's ever really, here in Southern California, the only time we really ever cancel matches is if it rains.
Right.
And the range will flood out or it's really rainy. But if it rains the day before, it's actually better, right? Because now the range is it's not as dusty and all that kind of stuff like that. But like I said, we just have some people that they just show, and they don't realize how much it impacts the squad, because now they're rushing to load their gear, get their holsters on, and now they're re-explaining over again.
It turns into a safety issue for them,
right?
So I didn't hear you.
I didn't hear that briefing.
Okay, well.
Yeah, I didn't hear the briefing, and now they want to reshoot, and so then now the stage runs longer, and things like that. So I think it's one of those things that
that is interesting.
Yeah, how we can, and sometimes it may just be as simple as this guy, Paul's always here at 9:00. We need to send Paul an email saying, "Hey, Paul, can you please be here at at least quarter till?"
Okay.
So that way we know to make sure we send out you an actual reminder email, because, like I said, some people sometimes read match starts at 9, and they think that that's the time to be there, and they don't read the next line, which says we would like everyone to be there by 8:15 or 8:30 the latest.
Well, apparently they're not law enforcement or fire, right? Because if you're not there 30 minutes ahead of time, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, yes, right.
You're
exactly.
late.
You're late. Yeah, I know. Exactly. I feel like sometimes we should just always put that in our match things. It starts at 8:30, and then actually start at 9. And as you know, especially sometimes in this, more in the winter, we have this more in the winter because it's so dark early.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
That you get to the range and it takes you longer to get set up because it's just dark.
Well, I mean, so Leaf, Sonia, myself, and a select few other, we're there at 4:50 to get the stuff started, right?
Yeah.
And it is pitch dark.
Yeah, and it takes a while, and sometimes you're literally the last 10 minutes of the match, you're stapling all the targets on.
Yeah.
And then you're just trying to verify that things are in the right place, and inevitably, as we all know, which is always kind of one of those things that's tough at tier 1 matches, is not all the time do we have the time to stake stuff down or mark stuff, or so barrels move, fault lines get bumped.
Yeah.
Targets get bumped because people will tape them and they'll slowly start moving them, or
a
stick gets shot. Like we shot a match just the other month, a stick got shot, and now it did this thing where it kinked over, and everybody was like, "How did you guys shoot that target? How did you shoot the target?" I go, "Oh, the headshot was perfectly clear." They're like, "There's no way to get." And then when I walked over and looked at it, I went, "Oh man."
Yeah.
And so it's one of those things where you really some people get mad about that stuff, but it's like there's only so much you can control, with weather and with targets. And
I mean, the SOs, isn't that the SOs?
Well, it's tough typically in club matches, right? Because the SOs typically travel. So they get there. That's how they see it. Even though a lot of times we do walkthroughs ahead of time, you can't memorize.
Oh no,
all 7 states. Like on top of everything else, you're just not memorizing it. So you get there and you make the best call as the SO you can make. For your thing. Now, obviously, and that's the big difference is when you go shoot tier 2 or a Washington. Right. An SO is going to be there.
You have the luxury.
You have that luxury of an SO sitting there, so he knows that stage all day. So it's not going to change on you.
But no, not volunteering. I mean, you would need a huge staff.
Yeah. I mean, I shot out at ISI, which Mike Dalton ran, and that's how he ran his club matches. They actually paid SOs every month, twice a month, to sit at the stages.
Right.
And that was great, but not everybody has that luxury. Like and it's really tough on the SOs because a lot of times we still want to shoot with our buddies.
Yes.
Like it's still because part of it is you're training and you shoot against them and if you're a mentor or you are helping coach someone in your group, you want to travel with them. You don't want to just coach them on that one stage. You want to go with them. You're going to sometimes help film them. Because sometimes if you're not traveling with them and you're not filming them and they make some huge catastrophic mistake, and if you don't have that on film to show them over and over and over again that they tripped and fell and how funny it was, it's hard if you don't have that on film. You really want to have that stuff on film. Absolutely. Post on Facebook to say, look what Paul did today.
And that happens all the time.
He can't run. Look at this.
My team, they remind me all the time.
Looks like an injured giraffe running. What's going on?
Well, I really hope the best for you with this. I think this definitely will take off. I know it has its place.
Yeah, I hope that it helps people, and hopefully we get some feedback. And
all that data was just sitting there untapped, right?
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's sitting there. And
somebody has to do something. Well, thank God it was you and not me.
I know, right? I know. Well, remember what I say.
Well, a special shout out to our viewers that hit that super thanks button. This is your support. Busy at work. We appreciate all that you do for the channel, and thank you so much. Please consider being a part of our shooting community, building relationships around safe gun practice and IDPA competition. My name is Paul G, and this is
Derek Zavada.
Please be safe, and we shall see you on the range.
Like, share, subscribe.
As long as it doesn't block this, it's good. I don't want to block this. Yeah. Everyone's here for this. Sure isn't the wisdom.
You sure?